As Kurds carved out a successful community in Nashville, the differences in Kurdish and American culture became more visible.
I think the one change that I've seen, it's how we've adapted to American culture. I see we're becoming somewhat more Americanized, but then again, the traditional aspects of our culture are still there. When we first came, people were just slowly, getting a home, settling in, and then now they feel that, and here in America, we're blessed with so many opportunities. Within the last 7 to 10 years is when it's really drastically changed. One thing that's been hardest for me, and I think a lot of the other women that I speak to when we talk about our issues, is that there's traditional gender role stereotypes that we must, we haven't overcome yet. We have the traditional role of the mothers, and the daughters as homemakers and, caring for the children, taking care of the home. But then again, they do have this opportunity to go out, start their own job, start a career, go to school. Certain families will say once you get a certain age, let's say between 18 and 23, females expected to get married. It's time to take care of the family. I think it comes with the idea of protection, of once you're at a certain age and a female steps out of the home, it's what's going to happen to her? Is she going to be okay? Will she live a good life? Is any harm going to be brought to her? I think that's the mentality they have, and when they see the guy, it's always these gender stereotypes. A guy, masculine, powerful, can take care of himself. We got to talk to the pitch going. On the other side, you have the female who's feminine, weak, and unprotected. It kind of pushes me to prove everyone wrong and say, hey, I can do this. Yes, I respect my traditions and my culture of, being wife, daughter, but there's so much more out there for me. Just give me that opportunity.
Access to American culture varies greatly between the older and younger generations. Older generations tend to be the most culturally and linguistically isolated. For the Kurdish youth, life in Nashville presents a tug-of-war between their Kurdish and American values. They have to balance the customs of their parents at home with an Americanized life at school, work, and with friends. Kurdish youth often face pressures unknown to their parents and peers.
My parents tell us all the time, tell me, my brothers and sisters, that it's important to hold on to your culture. People back home are suffering to hold on to their culture, so you have it easy here.
That's actually, it's kind of like a hard thing to kind of balance it out, because you come from a culture which is totally different from this culture. When I came here, school was the first thing. Just the way that the students would react towards the teachers. It's a whole different atmosphere from what I used to go to school from. Like all of a sudden you would see a student getting up, like shouting or like cussing, like what is it or whatever. And I wasn't used to that. In my culture, in Kurdish culture, teacher is like your second parents. School is like your second house.
The biggest thing I noticed about the American culture, it's all about self. It is I. What do I want? What do I need? What does my heart say? And it's exact opposite when it comes to Kurdish culture. It is not just I. It is I along with those that I love, those that cared for me, my mother who gave birth to me. So it's that whole difference. When it comes to the whole Kurdish family, we all live together until we get married, and then we move out. Not until we're 18, but until we're married. A typical American person, being over 18 and living with your parents, you're looked down upon like, oh, you're not independent. In Kurdish culture, it's all about love, and also that you're taking care of them because they took care of you. There's still Kurdish tribes that are here that still expect, for example, their females to marry, in their tribe and not to marry outside the tribe. And it becomes very frustrating for people who grow up here who don't know nothing about tribalism.
In the Middle East, there is, huge issue. There is the tribal issues, and The tribal was just, you know, a piece of our parents' culture that they have to live by it. The young generation, they get very adjusted, you know, to the culture here. It brings a lot of challenges, you know, and it brings a lot of disputes, you know, between parents and the younger generation, definitely.
In the summer of 2007, Nashville made national headlines when news of a Kurdish youth gang emerged. Journalists questioned whether gang activity was a symptom of violence experienced by Kurds in their homeland. Kurds in Nashville felt the gang was an influence of American culture.
As a community, we don't believe, you know, in gangs. And we are worried about them because they are, you know, part of our community and part of our youth generation, and we want them to be successful too.
For the handful of Kurdish youth active in the gang, generational gaps between themselves and their parents played a role in their involvement. As the story unfolded, it became apparent a few youth were struggling and their parents were unaware a problem existed.
Many of our, you know, parents, they think that their children are in school, they're doing okay, they have no problems. If there's a problem, the teacher would come and would tell them about it. But the way, you know, of telling, you know, in this country is different. You know, it could be a letter, you know, in the mail, you know, that comes to the parents, which they cannot read it. Who would open that letter, you know? The same child that is in a school. And if that letter have any negativity, you know, about the child would not tell, you know, his parents, you know, the negativity. They would just throw it in the trash. I think that play a huge role.
Kurdish kids, if they have a right environment at home and outside, they are very intelligent, very, very smart. They just need someone to coach them. Even though majority of them are very good kids, there are always going to be problems. Doesn't mean that we have to ignore them. We made Nashville our new home. This city offered us many opportunities, and we have to give this back. How you give this back to the community? By providing productive children who can serve their communities, become doctors, lawyers, and end up serving people.
History has shown that successive generations of refugee and immigrant families create their own blend of cultural identity. They ultimately decide what traditions will continue, what will fade away, and what will be made new. No matter what the future holds for Little Kurdistan, the Kurdish community will play a part in the changing landscape of Nashville.
30 years from now, it's where are we going to be? You know, will we still be this close-knit, you know, mini Kurdistan here, or will we break apart?
I'm definitely seeing myself in Nashville. In the next 15 years, hopefully I'll be graduated, have a job, hopefully a family. I want my family to experience this Kurdish community.
I'm Kurdish, and I live in America. At the end of the day, you are still Kurdish American, no matter what.
Often my sisters and I, we joke about it and we say we're the Amerikurds because we're not fully Kurds, we're not fully Americans, and we're in between.
I think that Kurdishness in us will always remain. You know, that's something that's in our blood. 10 generations from now, I believe that their identity will remain even though they're assimilated in society.